For the kind introduction. Thanks. I would like to thanks Fuse Committee Jay Pandian for giving me the opportunity and Navitas Life Sciences for providing me the opportunity to present today. Thank you everyone to attend this session. I'm going to talk about clinical Python in clinical programming. So this usual disclaimer, the presentation does not represent views of Navitas Data Science and belongs solely to me. I take full responsibility for work or if any errors. We had very interesting sessions since morning when we started with introduction and AI and introduction of AI of our future of shaping the future of pharma and big data, and then the implementation and use of R cases. Taking this conversation little ahead, if we pick any recent survey of data science tools, technology, programming languages, we find that Python is leading the pack, and along with R. And these are popular due to its open source languages, open source nature, and the machine learning and data visualization capabilities, text mining capabilities. We are aware of wearables, the GPS technology to voice recognition to self-driving cars, where many of these machine learning gadgets that we are surrounded of. Just wanted to bring up one example, and then I'll get back to the Python and in clinical programming. Recently, I found that as we are aware of, Toyota is building a city near AI-centric city near Tokyo. And this city is completely will have self-driven cars, and it will be the household chores that will be done by robots. So imagine self-driving car in India in few years. That would be interesting. But comparing these trends and advancement of technologies in other industry to clinical and statistical programming department. On the slide, I have a flow chart of activities that we regularly perform on a regular basis by biostatistical programmer and biostatisticians. If we could break this into two parts, then here we see that it would largely be said that the protocol, CRF development, annotation of CRFs, SDTM mapping or ADAM specifications, creations, output specifications or annotations of output mock shells is still largely a manual process with some exceptions in large pharma. And SDTM creation and ADAM to TLFs generating outputs, which we see that about 90% of this is being done by SAS programming. So SAS is definitely a robust and powerful analytic and reporting tool, and it's widely preferred in industry due to its efficiencies and perceived regulatory acceptance. In last few years, there is growing discussion, there is growing acceptance with R, and now with discussion regarding Python to implement in the areas where we can utilize maximum capabilities of these tools and make our lives easier. So in this presentation, in the next few slides, I have, from a SAS programmer's perspective, I have tried to take a closer look at Python, the Python packages, and if we can maybe relate it in three different categories, where we can say that there are what can be the similarities with SAS and Python programming. There are additional capabilities, benefits of Python and additional flexibility of Python that Python would provide. And then finally, the integration of SAS and Python. So as we know, Python is open source language, and it was implemented or released in 1991. Its popularity is due to its simple nature of the syntax and the readable syntax. one of the popular way to install it is through the Anaconda distribution channel, where it brings many of the tools that we use in data science and machine learning with just one install. And then to work with Python, we install a lot of, there are widely used IDE or integrated development environments. For example, Jupyter Notebook, Spyder, and PyCharm. Python is popular because it comes with various libraries or packages to choose from, and it makes it a complete programming language. In this presentation, in next few slides, I'll talk about the Python packages, scikit-learn, NumPy, and Pandas, which is a data manipulation analysis tool, data visualization packages, which are Matplotlib, Seaborn, ggplot, XLRD, and PDF Miner to work with Excel data and to text extraction from PDF documents, and SassPy, which is the integration of Sass and Python package. Okay, as machine learning, which is in the center of discussion, I would start with machine learning. As we know that machine learning is an application of artificial intelligence, which allows the computer systems to learn algorithms from data and experiences. So considering the trends, it's important to understand the basic architecture of machine learning. It could be broadly categorized into four areas, four types. Supervised learning, which is working with a structured and labeled data. In supervised learning, we have an input variable and an output variable. And by using an algorithm to learn the mapping function from the input to output. Supervised learning, it could be categorized into two categories here, classification and regression. Classification is a goal to predict discrete values, yes, no, true, false, and for regression is goal to predict the continuous values. So similarly, unsupervised learning, which is means with learning, working with unlabeled data, and we only have an input variable and no corresponding output variable to map. Semi-supervised learning, it has a combination of labeled data and some amount of unlabeled data. And finally, reinforcement training, which learns from the errors, where the machine would find the best possible behavior or path it would take in a specific situation. In this case, there is no training data set. We have discussed some of the examples of this machine learning algorithms in clinical research in first two presentations today. Just want to, when I did a quick search and I found some interesting applications, so I would like to share where it is being used into disease identification and diagnosis of ailments, as well as personalized treatment. Also drug discovery, manufacturing, and identifying compound or molecule. At the same time, one interesting area which I found was that it is being implemented into epidemic outbreak prediction. And because the times we are in right now, it caught my attention where they were trying to predict the outbreak, particularly in third world countries, which often lack medical infrastructure, educational avenues, and access to treatments. So we were close, but maybe just in wrong continent, or maybe those algorithms need to be validated. But so there are challenges which we need to address going forward. But okay, now coming back to machine learning, the process of machine learning, which can be broken down into multiple steps here, starting from problem identification to data acquisition, data preparation, manipulation, and pre-processing, and then finally choose the right estimator or algorithms for the problem. to fit this model and algorithms and use it to make predictions and then evaluate, improvise, and experiment. So this is the pipeline for machine learning, which I tried to break it down into two parts, where the sklearn Python package, sklearn, or the scikit-learn package is usually used for modeling, from choosing the right estimator algorithms and fit the model, evaluate, improvise, experiment, and remodel. It is more like a testing, where you need to test different models to understand the correct model for this particular situation or particular problem. And the first part here is from data acquisition to data preparation, pre-processing, because in this case, the scikit-learn model or the machine learning model would not accept any text data. Any data that we pass through the machine learning model would be would need to be converted into numeric values. It has to be split into the X and Y labels or feature encoding, and it has to be in a non-missing format. So it does not understand missing values. In this case, the NumPy, Python NumPy package, which is very important to understand before we start any machine learning algorithms, where it is a numeric Python package, and it's used for data pre-processing. It is a foundation for numeric computing, and we can say it's a core library for scientific computing, which contains a powerful n-dimensional array object. As a SAS programmer, we are aware of 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional arrays, and we need to think of n-dimensional or multi-dimensional arrays for feature engineering. NumPy arrays supports in high-level mathematical and scientific operations. Another package that would be supporting for data manipulation, data analysis, and data preparation, which is Pandas. And and scikit-learn is also based out of matplotlib package, which is a data visualization package. Another challenge to create a machine learning algorithm is to model selection. So model selection, to begin with, as a starting point, in my next slide, we have a flow chart or a map to understand where to begin with in order to select the model. In this case, we need to have minimum 50 samples, so we need to have required samples. That is also one of the challenge when we look at these machine learning algorithms or problems, to find enough data, considering the confidentiality, patient confidentiality, and the nature of our industry. Then we can finally, using this chart, we can identify if it is a classification problem or a clustering problem, if it's based on a label data, or if it's a regression problem. Back to the basics, if we look at data manipulation and analysis, which we all are familiar with, working with SAS, similar package in Python is Pandas, which is used for working with tabular data and data stored in spreadsheets, databases. In Python Pandas, it's called as data frame. The structures are called series for a single dimensional like data, and for 2-dimensional it's data frame. It's used for cleaning, processing, and it has integration with many file formats or data sources. In this case, I have listed some examples here for a basic Python syntax that we could relate to read a CSV file, Excel file, or a SAS file, and then to output these files. Similarly, the df.head and tail for previewing the first 5 and the last 5 rows. Then there is two important methods here which we can see describe for descriptive statistics, which could be similar to proc means, and value counts for like a summary count or summary statistics. In next example, I have added a sample code from Jupyter Notebook here, where we can see that in this case we are reading the Python pandas packages, and then we are using the for reading SAS data sets. Then there are three methods here used for printing or viewing these data sets or data frame: keep, drop, and rename variables. In this case, variable names are case sensitive. For merging these two data sets here, in the first scenario, case for DM, we are keeping the three variables from DM data set for EX, and then how to perform this merge and by variable. Very similar to ProcSQL. A sample of the log, if there is an issue, Jupyter Notebook, it's inline, and the data frame, once we have cleared the issue and run this data set again. So in clinical programming, we often work with messy data, or imputing the date time is one of the challenging tasks and complicated task. So here I have just listed one example of imputing the date from a string variable. So in this case, we are using the date time package, and then reading this DM date variable. In this case, we see that the variable is having 5 different format. In the first row, the dash date is separated by dash. In the second one, it's by slash. Third one is a text value, and number 4 is a partial date, and number 5 is a missing value, which is in a Python's way of saying that it's a missing value by saying NaN. By running the code in the right-hand side, we have imputed this date variable directly into numeric format in date format, and it has formatted the different values, different formats, and also imputed the partial date to 1st January in this case. And then NAT is the Python way of saying that it's missing a numeric value. And all this with one single line of code. So just wanted to highlight some flexibility of some of these packages and that Python offers. Next, I have tried to put together some examples of data visualization. So 2 Python packages that are mostly used. One, Matplotlib, which is which can be used in combination with pandas, and it is more than a decade old, widely used to generate powerful publication quality data, publication quality visualizations, figures and charts. Mainly, it's generally used for bar chart, pie lines, and scatter plots, and so on. For additional analytic or statistical graph, the Seaborn package that is being widely used. It provides some attractive and some aesthetic look to the figures. In the first example, again, I am keeping to the basics. We have started with the bar chart here, and in this case, we're reading the Matplotlib and pandas packages, and then plotting using the plot and dot bar. It could be also used for dot line or histogram or scatter plot. And same figure if we are using the Seaborn package. In this case, overwriting the Matplotlib library and using the CNS aesthetics and creating the bar chart using the Seaborn package. Seaborn is built on top of Matplotlib and is complementary. It supports a variety of visualization patterns. So some of the visualization patterns that Seaborn supports is for the different palettes, and that I tried to provide an example for scatter plot using Matplotlib and then scatter plot with the different palettes using the Seaborn package. So in the first example, we have created the scatter plot using Matplotlib. The second one is about two different palettes example. In the first one, it's sequential palette, which means that the value are from the color is from the lowest value will have light color, and then in the second example, it's a diverging palette. That means there are two sequential palettes combined. In this case, we have a central zero value. Okay. Second last package that I want to talk about is a PDF miner. So this is mainly used, or it could be very helpful, beneficial for text extraction. SAS is good at dealing the structured data, but there are limitations when we work with unstructured text, such as protocol or CRF. On the screen, the example is from Novartis, where they created a semi-automated CRF annotation using SAS, Python tool, PDF miner, and SAS.py package. In the next slide, we'll look at the SAS.py package. For PDF miner, which can be implemented in different ways. It provides capabilities to search the document and extract information from the document. It allows the exact location of text in a page, as well as other information such as fonts or lines. So it also provides capability to output in different formats. So in this example, we found two examples. One is on the Novartis on the CRF annotation. One which I recently found was on the from the Hutchinson Cancer Center. They have created a fully automated CRF annotation using another Python module, which is Py to text. And then another example for creating trial design data sets, directly extracting information from protocols and reading the metadata. And if we can think, or maybe there is any possibility to automate these supporting tasks, that we also spend good amount of time for creating the supporting tasks, apart from creating the regular the deliverables and the reporting activities. The final package that I want to talk about is SAS.py, and it's an open source Python package which allows Python coders to access SAS data and analytics capabilities. Another advantage of SAS.py is that it uses using Python, we can read directly both SAS and convert to Pandas data frame. But on the other hand, SAS.py is capable to handle SAS dataset without conversion to data frame. Also, it provides the capability to use Python methods such as describe and head to work with data. And by invoking the %% statement, it will let user experiment with SAS statements, also integrating in the same notebook. Another feature here is to in SAS.py module, all the background code is being created by SAS. So even if we are writing a Python code, and if we want to see the translation or the conversion of that Python code to SAS code, we can use this feature SAS teach me with a parameter true, and in the output or in the inline output, we'll see the SAS code. and that is, I think, good feature considering that we already have a large repository of SAS macros. And one concern to work with multiple languages to how to convert these languages, and I think this could be a very good feature to work with. In summary, Python, the SAS.py package opens up a lot of possibilities. And my final slide here is about, again, selecting the right tool for the right task. And this is just a humble attempt to break it down into pieces, and from a SAS programmer's perspective. Of all times, we now we realize that to expedite these processes is crucial for industry, for patients, and it would be a win-win situation to integrate multiple languages or for expediting the clinical trial processes. Thank you very much for attending this session in the middle of a pandemic. I hope you all stay safe, and with that I conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddharth. So we have 1 minute. Maybe I'll just read out one question for you. Okay. So with respect to the data imputation, that magic line you shared in slide number 10, pd.to date time function, is it a standard function or user-defined function?
It's a magic command. It's a standard function, and there are other magic commands on the SAS documentation and support website.
Okay. Okay, so thank you so much. I think we can move on to the next slide. There is one more question, Siddharth. You can just see the Q&A panel and you can respond to the respective question. So Abhay, you can go ahead with the next presentation.
Thank you, Jayapal.